Today I'm gonna do a look from this palette called Culture 2, and I want to tell you a little bit about my life in Bosnia. Let's get to it. When I was growing up, I lived in a city, but my grandparents, they actually lived on a farm that was right outside of the city. It was a very short drive up into the hills. And what my parents would do, they would take my sister and I every weekend up to the village, and we got to be on the farm, play with the animals, and help. And I honestly have to say that that was the favorite part of my childhood. They had so many animals. They had 2 cows, they had a horse, they had a bunch of sheep, chickens, usually 2 pigs at a time, and they had a giant property. They owned essentially, I would say, like half of a mountain hill. And they really farmed the land using the old traditional way with a horse and a plow. They didn't have tractors or anything like that. And I remember my dad sometimes would be cutting grass with a sickle, you guys, and I would sit with him under a tree while he was sharpening his sickle, and I would bring him food and water, and it was like the best, most amazing time ever. My favorite thing to do was to it was to go with my grandma every time she would go to milk the cows. So they had a little separate little part where the calf would be stored, and I would go stand with the calf and play with the calf while my grandma was milking the cows. I really love the way that she did it is the way that she would get the milk from the cow would be she would let the calf eat first until it no longer can eat anymore. And then whatever was left over, then she would milk for our use. So I really appreciated that. I just can't stand the way the food is raised now on these giant scales where animals are treated in such a horrible way. They're essentially living in hell on earth. It's horrible. But my grandma would let the calf eat first, and then we would take the milk that was left over. And I just loved playing with the calf. It was my favorite thing to do. Sometimes when we would stay with my grandparents, my grandma was an early riser. She would get up at 5 in the morning, and she would let the animals out to graze. And I remember it was my goal for the day to try to wake up before my grandma so that I can let the chickens out of the coop, because they were the cutest when they get let out first thing in the morning, and then they are all excited and running around and spreading their feathers. And it was such a thing for me to do. I really enjoyed doing it. So my grandfather, he was a farrier, and he would be banging in his little shop all day. He would make horseshoes from scratch, you guys, horseshoes from scratch. He would make horse nails for the horseshoes from scratch. He would make hammers from scratch. It was incredible. He would make all kinds of stuff. He was so handy. And there was a little apple, well, not, there was a giant apple tree in the back, kind of looking onto his shop. And I would climb up onto the apple tree and just sit there and watch him for hours. It was the best time. I loved doing that. It was really cool to watch him do his work because he really enjoyed it and he would really get all into it. And sometimes he would have me help him. So I would blow I don't even know what that's called, the thing that blows the air onto the fire to make it even hotter. And of course, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just a little kid. And then if you're not careful, the air can go both ways, okay, you guys? So you can start a fire very easily. And I almost started a fire in his shop on 2 occasions, but that's neither here nor there. He just laughed, and he was like, okay, well, let's teach you how to do it the proper way. And okay, so another one of my jobs was to let the sheep out into the mountains so that the sheep can just graze around, and then I would have to go get them at the end of the day. So letting the sheep out in the morning is easy because the sheep follow you, right? So you just go up to a certain point on the mountain, and then you just kind of point and tell them, okay, you guys go do your thing. I'm going to go back home. But here's the hard part, you guys. How do you find the sheep at the end of the day, right? Because you don't know where they're going to end up, because they like to sometimes walk very, very long periods of time, and they cover large distances, especially if the main sheep has a knack for walking that day. You can forget it. So you have to listen for the faint sound of the bell out in the middle of nothingness. So I remember I was once a little bit late and going out to get the sheep, and it started getting dark. You guys, I heard wolves howling, okay? Wolves howling. So I was thinking, I can't let my grandparents down. I can't come back without the sheep. But what if the wolf gets me? So, growing up in the Bosnia hills was not that easy. It was not for the faint of heart, that's for sure. So I remember that day I went and I was running, just trying to hear for the bell of the sheep, and I found them and I brought them back home, and not a single sheep was missing. So yay, the wolf didn't get to them. But you know what? That night we heard the wolves howling many, many times, and they were getting closer and closer to the home. So as a little kid, I've put myself in danger quite a number of times, probably without even really knowing what the heck I was doing. But here we go. Here I am, both arms and legs here, all in one place. All is well that ends well, right? So I actually made friends with this one sheep, because most of them were kind of wild. They didn't like being around us, except for this one. This one would come and eat out of my hand, and she would follow me around everywhere. She was kind of like my little best friend. And she was just so cute and kind. And you think that all sheep look alike. No, this was a beautiful sheep. She looked prettier than the others, at least in my eyes. So one day I see a car coming out from far in the distance. You see the dust on the road, and the car is coming, and blah, blah, blah. And at that time, I kind of lived most of my life up in trees. I loved climbing trees. I was up on a cherry tree, and I saw this man talking to my grandpa. And they're talking and they're talking and they're yelling and they're talking. And then all of a sudden, I see they're going over into the sheep enclosure. And my grandpa grabs my friend, and the guy grabs my friend, the sheep, and he starts putting her in a van. Insanity. So I climb down from my cherry tree, and I go running to my grandpa screaming, "That's my friend, that's my friend, let go of my friend." I started yelling at my grandpa, "That's my friend, that's my friend, let go of my friend." But there was no reasoning with him. So apparently what happened was he sold a sheep to this guy for a Christmas roast, and my friend was the easiest to catch, because she was used to being around me and she was not scared of people. So I felt responsible that I caused her death. And there was just no way to try to even get her replaced with a different sheep. They had their eyes set on my friend, and nobody cares about what a little girl has to say. Nobody really took kids' opinions into consideration. It was just a lot. Okay. So I felt responsible for her death. And can you guys believe I didn't become vegan at that very moment? I still continued eating meat. Yeah, that was pretty crazy. Then I also had a little chicken friend. So it was this little baby rooster who also became accustomed to being around me. And we had a tree of walnuts. So I don't know if you're familiar, but when walnuts are young, they are enclosed in this green skin, and then you pop that open, and then they're in their little hard shell inside. But the actual walnut has this bitter skin on the outside that you have to peel if you want to eat it, because if you eat it with that skin, it's not that delicious. So my mom and I would sit on a rock and just pop open those walnuts and peel the skin off and eat them out there. Well, this cute little rooster would wait for my mom and I to take the skin off of the walnut, and he would come from behind our back and just kind of steal it from our hands. Yeah, so he became also my best friend on the farm, and I call him Pripi, which in Bosnian, when you say Pripitomljan, means it's like, Pripitomljan means, I don't even know how to translate it. I guess accustomed to people. I don't know. Anybody, please help me in the comments who speaks Bosnian. How do you translate pripitomnje into English? So this kept going on for quite a while. My mom and I just now started feeding him walnuts, and he would just follow us around everywhere. And then all of a sudden, I couldn't find him anywhere, you guys. He was nowhere to be found. And that night, my grandma served us chicken soup. Okay, y'all see where this is going, right? Y'all see where this is going. So I was eating the soup, and I told my grandma how I couldn't find my little chicken friend. And she's like, well, he's right in front of you. And I'm like, where? Where's my little chicken friend? And she goes, he's in your plate. Yep, I stopped eating dinner and I ran away crying. Do you see, guys, how traumatized I was? Guess what? Even after that, I still didn't become vegan. I still kept eating meat, but yet I had my friends taken away from me over and over again. Farm life is not easy. I just remember that was a very traumatizing event for me, but I still kept eating meat. So at one point during the war, we didn't have any food, we didn't have any money. So my uncle actually gave me like 10 dinars, okay? And it was enough to buy me a chocolate, because I haven't had any chocolate in so long. And if you guys know me, you know I have a sweet tooth. So he gave me some money because there was a store that was all of a sudden open, and they had chocolate. So he goes, go buy yourself some chocolate. So you know what I got, what I did instead? I ended up buying 10 little baby chicks instead. So I bought 10 little baby chicks, raised them, and then they were producing eggs. So all of a sudden now we weren't starving. We had eggs to eat. So even at that age, when I could have been selfish and decided to just buy myself some chocolate because I was craving it and wanting it so much, I decided instead to think of the whole family and buy us some chickens that could actually help feed us over time. It's been an interesting childhood, I have to say. I don't think I would change it for anything. The war part, definitely I would, but being able to grow up on a farm and being able to experience all those magical things that make you think and grow up, I wouldn't change it for a world. So I hope you guys enjoyed going on a little memory lane with me, remembering some of the things about my childhood of living in Bosnia and being able to spend some of my most magical times in the village with my grandparents, because those were some of my favorite memories. I feel like it was such a big character building experience, and I'm super grateful for it. So let me know what you think in the comments below, and share some of your best childhood experiences with me. Mwah! Love you.